This time on Burnouts and Rotor Blades, it's all about the Quadrajet carburetor and how to rebuild it. Roll the intro. Welcome to the Burnouts and Rotor Blades YouTube channel. Let's go do something awesome. The materials you're going to want to use to rebuild this, some kind of cleaner, brake clean. You can use carb cleaner, rifle cleaning brushes. I like to use a paint tray, preferably use plastic, but for right now, this is all I have, so this is what I'm going to use. We need to find out what we're dealing with here on the carburetor. So in order to do that, we're going to turn it around to the serial number, which is right over here, and I'll clean that off and bring you guys in closer so that we can figure out what the heck this is. Now the trick is to take a little bit of grease on your finger and rub it into those valleys. Damn, look at that. You can see it on camera now, clear as day. So we have here the serial number for this Rochester Quadrajet carburetor. The 1705 means it was manufactured between 1974 and 79. The 6 means it's from 1976. The 5 after that means it is California emissions 4-barrel. And the 02 means it is from a Chevrolet automatic car. The 054 is day of the year, so the 54 day of the year is the 25th of February, 1976, and the AAD is the production facility. Another feature, which is a bulge inside of the venturi here, denotes an 800 CFM carb over a 750 CFM carb like all the others. It's also referred to as M4ME, which designates a 4-barrel with electric choke. Now that we have all that information, we can now go to the part store of choice and pick up our appropriate rebuild kit. For this particular application, I used this Walker Products 15601C, which if you go on their website, it'll actually break it down by part number. I have these bolts here, and they're supposed to be for making it easier to work on. We'll just shove these up in here. Whatever bolts you have probably work, just to get it up off the table. I clamped this down so that we could see the serial number a little better. First thing we're gonna do is get this top plate off. Stop it. We'll start by removing this accelerator pump arm, followed by the bolts for the top plate. These two screws here in the top of the air horn are the last two holding the top plate on. Next to come off is this front vacuum brake assembly. I like to put my screws back in the holes that they came from, and then next we can remove all the pieces that connect the choke arm to the flap. Once the choke arm and choke rod are removed, there's nothing else holding the top on, and you can remove the entire bowl cover as an assembly. As you peel back the upper gasket, you can gain access to a lot more of the components underneath the top plate. Here's the accelerator pump. It moves pretty freely, so hopefully I don't need a new one of those. Next to come out is the power piston, metering rod assembly, float spacer, and float bowl assembly, complete with a needle. Oh, float and needle assembly. This thing's pretty full of junk. There's a lot of just sand and dirt in the bottom of it, so it'll do for a clean. I already went ahead and pulled these two jets right here out. Next up, we'll remove this plug that holds down a check ball underneath it for the accelerator pump, followed by the needle seat assembly, and this aneroid spacer that you can only find after 1976. Oh man, look at all that. That's so much dirt. Now we'll go ahead and remove all these small parts, springs, then we can flip over the carburetor and start removing the base plate. That's just dirt that came out of the inside of the carburetor. Now I'm not going to replace this filter, but we are going to pop it open and see what's in there. There's no filter in there. Okay, well that's how we're going to run it too. I tried a number of methods for removing gasket pieces. Tried the razor blade, but it seems like what worked best was honestly just the freaking screwdriver. Look at all that stuff that came out of there, that's gross. My method for cleaning this is basically the same method that was taught to me by my dad. I would say, and my dad would say,
are you going to eat off of it?
No.
And keep cleaning.
Remember, this is being environmentally friendly, because the better your carburetor runs, the more environmentally friendly you will be. So cleaning your carburetor is the earth-friendly thing to do. We'll remove the one screw on top and then pull out the secondary metering rods. So we don't want to damage any of this stuff, so we're going to have to be very careful and just kind of hold it up here while we do our cleaning. Typically after cleaning, I'll want to take each component of the carburetor and blow through it. We'll generally blow it off and then I'll go into each hole and make sure each passage is clean. If you buy a generic rebuild kit, it comes with multiple gaskets, and I like to sort through them and lay them out to figure out which one is appropriate for my application before reassembly. You're going to be super careful when you're doing this, and don't force it. These are the jets. We want to put our ball right down inside of there. And then this guy right here will hold that ball down. We're going to swap out this old one here for this one right here. So we're going to make sure that we have that gasket on there. Now this one comes with the needle inside. We're going to take the needle and set it off to the side. Alright, that's snug. So this is our accelerator pump, and here's our new bits here. We're going to replace this right here by removing this. We're going to get the spring out of it. Down and out. Now that comes out. This can come off of here. We can take our old one off. This thing's not flexible enough to actually come off properly, so we're going to have to rip it. Alright, so that's ripped off now. We're going to use a little bit of silicone spray. Boom. This goes on here, and buzzing. Alright, there's that. Alright, our accelerator pump is rebuilt. Moves as it should. We can set that part off to the side. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this power piston assembly. We're going to make sure we install the spring in the bottom of it. We're going to set that aside. Next thing is the needle. And the needle has this little piece of metal. It's just going to hang generally on this tab. You want to make sure that this half moon piece is up. We're going to drop that down in the hole there. Be careful not to smash on this thing too much, but it should just set nice and gentle down in there, like so. This plastic hold down. Then the next is this power piston. It's like by braille. So by just dumb luck, we got that in there. Then this little plastic retainer just kind of stay down in there. So now that that's in, we can put our accelerator pump in. We just want to put the spring and then put the actual accelerator pump down in here. Now this gasket's going to be a huge pain in the butt to put in, because we have to get this over our accelerator pump and this around all this. Hold this down. I'm going to slide this part underneath. That can go up. That can go down there. And bada bing, bada boom. It says Android cup spacer, and it definitely goes right in here. The next thing to go on is this. It's the air horn. It is the top of the carburetor cover plate. You just want to make sure that you don't squish any of these tubes or this accelerator pump. So we're just going to gently try to line it up center as possible. Accelerator pump through, and then there's a couple of pins. We're going to squish those on, then we can drop our big bolts through. This plate here, throw those screws in, these guys, this one up here. We'll get all that tightened down. The illustrated parts breakdown, which can be downloaded from the Walker website, has a breakdown of the torque sequence for the top plate. Next we're going to put in the metering rods in the metering rod holder. We'll slide those down in there. Screw goes right here. Those move freely. Very nice. That's good now. So if the choke is, this is cold, so the choke should be holding this closed, as it currently is. And the last two screws go right down in here. There's no awards for speed on this, only penalties for going too fast. So take your time. There's the gasket that goes on this guy. Last piece is the accelerator pump. Right. The accelerator pump arm has a little keyway down here on this bottom one. So you have to be really careful whenever you put it in. It has to be oriented the right way. This little hairpin clip goes on this guy right here. And that is it. We should have good action on this. Accelerator pump goes all the way down. Now I'm going to be checking to make sure that our primaries and secondaries open properly. Primaries open, Secondaries will open with vacuum. Everything opens as it should. Cool. Typically you go set all your primary adjustments. So I'm just gonna measure these and see how many turns they are out. Half, 1, half, 2, half, 2.5. So that's closed, 2.5. That's good for me, but let's make sure they're both the same. 2.5. The Walker products page does have this base adjustment sheet that you can use to set up your carb right after rebuild based on your specific application. Since we're not running brake booster, I'm gonna go ahead and plug this as well. All right, let's go install it on the truck. So I got the carburetor installed on the truck, and I actually got it installed last night. We even got it fired off last night. Here's some video footage of that. We got the supplied gasket. We gotta prime our fuel pump first. We got no ignitions. Now let's hook up the ignition wire. Hear the fuel squirting? It runs. And the problem was it wouldn't stay running. But the reason it wouldn't stay running is because the coil wire fell off, and it was too dark for me to see that. So now that it's actually, the coil wire is back on, which was like a 2-second fix. Success! Now it's time to load this thing on the trailer and send it back off to Texas. Okay. Don't forget to subscribe if you like the content and want to see more like it. And as always, thanks for watching. It fired immediately when it got fuel. Bam! First ever Quadrajet carburetor rebuild, and it, boom, fired right off. Come on, it was awesome. You had doubts. That's right. Now go ahead and say it. You were right, it fired.
You're right, it fired. You better not put this on YouTube.
This is totally on YouTube.